41, Business 41. Busy intersection, as you can see. And we're going to make a swing and go under the bridge. You usually go over it, I imagine, but we're going to go under it today. And remember that the name of Route 41 was originally and still is called the Tamiami Trail, connecting Tampa to Miami. And that road was built in 1928. And according to the Venice News in that day, 200 cars arrived from Tampa on the way to Miami. But it was shortly thereafter that the BLE abandoned Venice. And most of the executives left, some under cover of darkness, and only a handful of people remained. We have a lot of kids in town, believe it or not, even though the average age in Venice is now 68. But we have a ton of children, and if you don't think so, come to the Christmas parade. They're all there. You're looking across the intercoastal waterway right now at the Venice Railroad Station. It was built by the BLE in 1927. It's a very important building here in town. Originally cost $47,500. Restored by the county and other agencies in 2003 at the cost of $2.3 million. It now functions as a transfer station for the SCAT, or the county bus system. And free tours are given of the restored depot 4 days a week. Used to be 3, now 4 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 to 3, and Saturdays from 10 to 1, I believe. And those tours are offered by the Venice Area Historical Society docents and volunteers. And if you see the red caboose down at the end, that's the office for the Venice Area Historical Society, and you can go through the caboose too. They're in the process of renovating their displays and sprucing up a little bit, so they are definitely the keepers of the depot. And the tracks, of course, no longer are in existence. We have a little bit there for show and tell, but the rest of the rail line has been taken up and has been converted to the Legacy Trail, a beautiful walking and biking trail. And they're in the process now of building a big overpass over the bypass, so you can get across the road without getting run down. Very important feature. And on your right, you will see the Venice Theater building. You can see it from here. It was originally a car park garage called the Orange Blossom Garage, and it had 5 storefronts in it. Remember that the Orange Blossom Special was the name of the train that brought folks here to Venice. We will. We will. Bob says, you know, we missed the house. Are you going to point out where the Dairy Queen was at least? Look right beyond where the fountain, the little park here is, and you'll see where the Dairy Queen building used to be. And Bob was putting the curls on the cones. How many years?
46.
46 years. And when they opened the Dairy Queen on Venice Avenue East, they invited Bob to come pull the first cone. And he still had the twirl. After we come across Nokomis Avenue, on your right, you're going to see the first commercial building constructed in Venice. After we pass the Venice, what's now the Venice Center Mall, it used to be called the San Marco Hotel. As we make our way through traffic here, we're going to be coming up on the very first building that was built by the BLE in 1926, and it was called the Hotel Venice. It has gone through several names. I believe the latest is Emeritus. It used to be called Somerville and Park Place Hotel. It had a lot of names, but you know what? It's still the same building. It's still as beautiful from the front as it always was. It was described as an Italian Renaissance palace rising from a sea of sand and scrub pine. And it was constructed in just 3 months, believe it or not. The wood frame stucco building was designed by Leon Gillette, whose firm Walker & Gillette supervised the development of the city. The courtyard courtyard fountain and planting beds were designed by Harold Heller, who along with Prentice French and Gillette served on the BLE Architectural Review Board. The hotel had 100 rooms with adjoining baths, large windows, ventilating floors, doors, and ceiling fans. I wonder if the doors ventilated the floors also. It cost nearly $500,000 to construct, and it was the site of lavish parties, and many prominent people, including Thomas and Edison, were guests there. And this structure was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in February 1984, and it was the very first structure in the city to be put on the register. It is now, of course, an assisted living facility. So when you get a little older and a little slower, maybe you'd like to look into a room there. Now, when the BLE left in 1928, their hotels closed and were vacant for many years. But in 1932, the Kentucky Military Institute came to town for their winter quarter, and they agreed to lease the San Marco Hotel and that hotel that we just saw to use as their winter headquarters. Students had dorm rooms up above. Staff arrived at the hotel. They came after Christmas and stayed till Easter. And their arrival meant local business for many of the merchants and businesses, and activity, of course, for the train station, and lots of activity for the girls who met the boys at the train station. Bob, being a local, didn't think much of the KMI boys.
They stole our girls.
They stole the girls, he said.
Girls like uniforms.
Girls go for guys in uniforms. The garage was converted to a gymnasium and armory, and the San Marco Hotel, which is the student dormitories. And that parking lot where the farmer's market was, that used to be an open field, and they would parade their boys in their uniforms, full dress uniforms, every other week. And boy, did they draw a crowd. Now on your left, you'll see this kind of plain Jane building. This is the post office. You've all stood in line there, I'm sure. But at one time, there was a beautiful hotel, which was a duplicate of that Hotel Venice. And you know, they were building so fast that the architects said, we don't have time to make another plan. They said, just turn it around and build the same building. And they did. Unfortunately, it is now gone, and this is what we have in its place. Next to it was the Estes Golf Theater, which was also been demolished, some other stores. And by the way, the theater was the only air-conditioned building in town, so if it was hot, you went to the movies. But it was the second commercial building constructed in Venice. And look at the elaborate stucco relief above the arches and the ornate twisted columns. This was owned by a man called H.E. Sanders, who stated that he wanted to be the first merchant of Venice. Now, the two-story building that we're going to be coming up on next with the green tile roof was originally known as the Ennis Building, or the Post Office Arcade. It was in reality two separate structures with a covered arcade with a breezeway between them. Originally open, the arcade has been enclosed. The second floor housed a hotel called the Valencia, with the hotel lobby, post office, newsstand, barbershop, and the FP&L on the first floor. The second floor is still a hotel, now called the El Patio Motor Hotel. And the principal first floor tenant, of course, is Carney's Bar and Grill. The box-like structure on the roof was part of the original solar hot water heating system. We're coming up now on the Johnson Schoolcraft building, the one on the corner with the second floor balcony on your right. The Venice Pharmacy used to be in the downstairs area, and it was declared to be the finest in the South, with black marble pink soda fountain, marble tops, and dark walnut woodwork. For many years, the local phone company called Peninsular operated its switchboard from the rear storefront. At one time, the police department installed a red light on the roof to allow residents to signal if there was a problem. And that was the day before radio dispatch cars. And citizens would phone the operator to relay a message to the police. The operator then turned the red light on, which was visible for many blocks in the sparsely built up and populated city, and the patrol car would come to get the message. And Bob always says,
Therefore, the first red light district in Venice.
the first red light district in Venice. Okay. Right next door at 605 West Venice Avenue is another Ward built home. This one originally cost $40,000 to $50,000 to build. And it was built for George T. Webb, a native of North Dakota, and a banker who was president of the Venice Company. Now, the Venice Company was organized by the VLE to sell their property here in Venice. And when Mr. Webb returned to Venice in the 50s, and because of the Depression, he actually ended up as a pauper. And when the VLE left Venice, the contents of the house were sold at auction, and the house was vacant and vandalized during the Depression. Now, in 1947, it was purchased and restored by James Lambert. Mr. Lambert was heir to the Lambert Pharmaceutical Company fortune, and his grandfather and Dr. Lister developed the formula for Listerine. Absolutely. The Lambert family gave Charles Lindbergh its first $1,000 check for his transatlantic flight. And as right up here on the bare section right there is where the Triangle Inn used to be. It has been moved too. We move a lot of stuff around here, doesn't it? But we're coming up now to the Horse and Chase Bed Breakfast, and this was the house that used to be the original nursing home in Venice. Here's the first part of the house, the original part. Remember I said it rambled on? Well, they added on. It stretches all the way down. This is where the guest rooms are now. Okay. We're going to make a turn now on another one of those major boulevards that was planned to connect the city. It's called Harbor Drive. And we don't have a harbor here in Venice, but it's a nice romantic name. An important feature of the city plan was a 9-hole golf course. And it was located where Publix shopping center is today. And it was plotted out where the Country Club Estates mobile home park is. The course opened in 1927, and golfers faced some unusual problems there, such as snakes popping up out of the holes and crows who would fly off with the golf balls. But this was the site of the first Venice Golf and Country Club. And we want to talk a little bit about that Triangle Inn building before I let you go. We started there and we end there. This large 2-story structure was the prominent tower, was known always as the Triangle Inn. It was constructed in 1927 as an affordable bed and breakfast for singles or couples. There have been 8 different owners of the building. After World War II, it was converted to a single-family residence, and in the 50s, it was turned into 5 small apartments. Then in 1989, a local bank purchased the building and was going to demolish it to make room for a parking lot. So through the efforts of the Historical Commission, it was acquired by the City of Venice, and in 1991 was moved to its present location, where it houses a museum on the first floor and storage for the Venice Archives and Historical Collection on the second floor. It's a wood frame structure with stucco interior. The tower contains a curved concrete staircase with a wrought iron banister to the second floor. The interior has a fireplace and mantel, white ceramic tile in the 2 bedrooms, red terracotta tile on the first floor loggia and oak floors. And it has the decorative relief trim on the tower and the green tile roof. And by the way, it was originally green, not red. The original lot was triangle-shaped, and therefore it got its name, the Triangle Inn. We hope you've had fun today. We've had fun taking you around town. And please tell your friends about the tours. We'll have one more in January, two in February, two in March. Oh, we have a